Yeah, so there are many times when we have to make a local call, like a tooling API, or sometime we have to execute certain code as a specific user. Not highly recommended, but below is the approach that I have used, which can help you to do that. So I think first is name credentials, so we don't need to store the username and password and all those information in our some custom settings or anything like that. So I created a local entry, a name credential, and then the name of the user who will be used to execute the code, or this is the user who will be logged in as. So we can put the username, password, we can put the URL as the name of the org, and then yeah, we can click this checkbox so that we can put them in part of the payload HTTP body. And once that is done, we can make this is a utility service which has a few methods. So you can see a callout method, which is just a generic method to do any HTTP callout, post, get, with headers, timeout, everything. So it's just a generic method. And once that method is done, then we have a few more methods as well, but let's take a look at the demo REST service. So this is some service. Of course, you can make a call to tooling API or metadata API, but this is another service, so we can make a call to REST service. So this is a demo REST service, just prints a username. Here we can append our any code that has to be executed as a proxy user, because this REST service will be called as a proxy user logs in. No matter which user can call this service, it will be executed as a proxy user because proxy user will be calling it. And we'll see that in action very soon. So you can put some code which should be executed as a proxy user here. Once that is done, then let's say code is running as a certain user. Currently, I'm running as a system admin, and I want to, and this is a demo proxy service client, and from here, I want to, let's say, call the demo REST service, but I want to call the REST service uh, like I am calling as a proxy user, even though I'm running the demo REST service client as a system administrator user. So the first thing I need to do is I need to get the session ID of the proxy user. So I have returned this method called get token name credential. And you can see that this method basically just makes a SOAP call to do username and password and gets the session ID. Uh, there are other ways to do it as well. If you don't want to use SOAP, you want to use REST. But in case of REST, you have to create a connected app and this and that, and you still need to know username and password. So why bother with all those things and just save the username and password in the name credential and then just make a SOAP call so we don't need to create a connected app. And once we get the SOAP response back, we can get the parse the body and shown in line number 33, which is the method over here, which will just give us a session ID. And once we have the session ID, we can make REST service call or metadata API call or tooling API call or anything for that matter, right? So that's here I'm making the REST API call, but any API call can be made. When we make the REST API call, we get the token, we have the endpoint, we can pass some body, headers. So in the header, we have to make sure that we pass the session ID that we got. And once it is done, then the same method that I wrote earlier, the generic callout method, which will get the job done. And then once we get the response, we can print it out, and you can see Salesforce does a pretty good job. It doesn't print the session ID, so session ID is removed, but then it does get the response back from that web service, which does a pretty good job. And that's pretty much it.